Rajabhat from Gracia. This is the Rorschach, Georgia update from the 17th of October, 2024. Quick summary of what's going down in Georgia. On Monday the 14th, Reuters reported that the EU is planning to warn Georgians about the threat its government poses to the European integration project. This might happen during the EU Council Summit, which will be held on Thursday the 17th and Friday the 18th. According to Reuters, in the draft document that will be read during the summit, the Council will reiterate its support for the Georgian people to join the European family, but state that the path the current government has taken halts any further progress. The document specifically mentions that the adoption of the Russian law and the anti-LGBTQ laws are causes of major concern. This is especially relevant since the statement will be made just 1 week before the parliamentary elections in Georgia, which are on the 26th. Opposition parties will capitalize to further mobilize pro-European voters on Election Day. Speaking of the elections, on the 29th of September to the 8th of October, London-based market research consultancy Savanta conducted a party rating survey for the opposition channel Tvari. Survey included 1,500 respondents, and the results show that 36% would vote for the Georgian Dream, or Otsneba. 18% would support the Coalition for Change, that's Tavisuplevistvs, which is Gvaramia, Melia, Girchi, Droa, or let's just call it simply Tavisuplevistvs. 14% would vote for the United National Movement, or Natsebi. 10% would choose Gacharia for Georgia, or Sakartvelovstvs. And 8% would back the Strong Georgia Coalition, or Dzlieri, which includes Lelo. Unlike Edison Research, which conducts polls for Formula, this survey identifies Tavisuplevistvs, not the Natsebi, as the largest opposition party. The only other company conducting election polls is Gorby, which is contracted by the main government channel. Imedi has consistently shown Otsneba rating at 60%. Since we mentioned Otsneba, on Monday the 14th, Kachi Kaladze, mayor of Tbilisi and the ruling party secretary general, compared the EU to the Soviet Union. He made his remark while responding to a statement by Anna Müller, German Minister for European Affairs. She said that while the EU supports the Georgian people, that support is no longer extended to the current Georgian government. Kaladze argued that the current administration reflects the will of the Georgian people, and the EU must respect the country's sovereignty rather than dictate its interest in a style reminiscent of the Soviet Union. Go kick a ball, dude. Just 10 days before the election, the State Security Service released a statement warning of a high likelihood that radical forces will distribute AI-generated and edited content to destabilize the country. This content is expected to target government officials and may include private videos or calls. A couple hours after the statement was issued, recording of a call between Bidzina Ivanishvili's wife, Eka Kvelidze, and a Russian online learning platform representative was leaked to YouTube. More intriguing than the content of the call is the allegation that someone is tapping Ivanishvili's wife's phone. State Security Service issued warnings about destabilization and attempts at revolution before each election. However, no one's ever been arrested on these charges. This time they said that the statement aimed to warn the suspects against acting on their plans. Next up, on Saturday the 12th, the Institute for Development of Freedom of Information, or IDFI, shared that 114,000 Russians went to Georgia between 2022 and 2023 after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, with 74,000 choosing to reside there. During the same period, 264,000 Georgians left the country, while 146,000 returned, leading to a decrease of 118,000 Georgian citizens. Over the past decade, 815,000 Georgians have emigrated, but just 265,000 have returned, leading to a loss of over 500,000 residents. According to 2020 data from the United Nations, 861,000 Georgians live abroad. This figure likely underestimates the reality due to illegal migration. IDFI warns that if current trends continue, the number of Georgians living outside the country could reach 1 million by the end of the year. 2023, 70% of migrants were under 30, 43% were under 15. Unexpectedly, one of the biggest politics-related chunks of news last week was from the creative industry. On Thursday the 10th, Nika Bochorishvili, founder of the well-known advertising agency JWT Metro, shared a new political advertisement for Otsneba on his Facebook page, saying he created it with a team of freelancers. Within hours, more than a dozen employees announced their resignations, with some doing so in the comments of the Post. They didn't know that their boss was working for the government, and since their company made a promise that they would not work with the executive after the Russian law protests, they felt betrayed and resigned. After the demonstration, several marketing agencies declared that they would not work with Otsneba. All resigning employees stated they had no knowledge of the ad's creation. Given the company's size, this situation likely means that JWT Metro will shut down. On Friday the 11th, a peculiar interaction unfolded between Mamuka Khazaradze, leader of Tzlieri Lelo, and a journalist from the government-affiliated media outlet Post TV. Journalist accused Khazaradze of hiding his Armenian ethnicity. Confused by the statement, Khazaradze laughed and asked the journalist to provide evidence. Later, he issued a public statement apologizing to Armenians on behalf of his opponents, labeling them as xenophobic. The Armenophobic rhetoric has a long history in Georgian politics, often rooted in the national stereotypes and extreme nationalism. Opponents of former President Misha Saakashvili frequently use this rhetoric against him, and of course, Zura Zhvania. Rarely mentioned is that 100 years ago, Tbilisi was half Armenian. On another note, on Monday the 14th, Russia put Georgian citizen Alexander Insaridze on a wanted list. According to state media, he's accused of organizing the explosion that took place on the Crimean Bridge 2022. Oh yeah. The video of the attack was widely circulated at the time. The explosive was packed in a truck that was crossing the bridge, which directly connects the peninsula to Russia and is crucial for logistics. Insaridze's current whereabouts are unknown. Bets are he's in Ukraine. While on the topic of the relationship between Russia and Georgia, on Thursday the 10th, Vladimir Putin signed a law expanding visa-free regime for Georgians. The new document removes the 90-day stay restrictions on all categories of visitors. This action, along with Putin appointing the head of Georgian diaspora affairs 2 weeks ago, shows Russia's interest in presenting the Russian Empire as an appealing pre-election alternative to the European Union. TikTok influencer from Russia, who drew his country's flag on Kartlis Deda monument in Tbilisi, has fled the country. He initially shared a video in which he painted the Russian flag over graffiti that said, "Fuck Russia." He then made threats against those who disliked his homeland. Video went viral on social media, sparking an overwhelmingly negative reaction from locals. Shortly after that, the video's creator posted in his story that he had fled the country. What a loser. Sports news. It was a tough week for Georgia's national football team, which played 2 matches in the nation's league, one against Ukraine, the other against Albania. Even though Georgia was a favorite in both matches, the team suffered disappointing losses, falling short by a narrow 1-0 margin in each game. Match against Ukraine, the giant banner displayed by Georgian and Ukrainian fans read "Power and Unity" in both languages, highlighting the friendly relationship between the nations despite the chilly relations between their governments. Closing on fashion news, this week discussions on Georgian Facebook focused on one name, Matilda Gvarliani. The Georgian model, already well established in the industry and recognized as one of the faces of Chanel's fragrance line, has now skyrocketed into the mainstream. Her recent achievement as the first Georgian model selected for the Victoria's Secret fashion show has captured widespread attention. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. We're hoping that you're enjoying Georgia's Update as much as we enjoy making it. Any thoughts, questions, or ideas, send us an email at info@rorschach.com. Don't forget to subscribe on your go-to podcast platform. Nachmanis.